Hello once again and welcome to Let's Talk Wakfu for the 28th of April 2012. This is your host Shiraf, and my oh my, what am I going to talk about this episode? There is so much to talk about, it's quite unreal. I'm not sure where to start. The footage in the background at the moment is the end of that little dungeon run, purely because somebody requested to see how the boss fight ended. So yep, I'll show that for you. And I'm going to try and be a bit more dynamic in this episode, showing up different pictures and footage, see how it all gels well together. And yeah, what are we going to talk about? There's so many topics. I suppose at the start now I'll talk about this show. In fact, this show is based on my opinions, and why should my opinions matter? Well, I've already had a response from Troyal, and he expressed his gratitude and put forward some ideas that this show actually brought up from the very first episode. That means this show has weight, and whatever's talked about, you know, can highlight some good issues in the game for the devs to work on. So hopefully I'd like to try and turn this into a sort of mailbox where somebody could write in their opinions about something and want it discussed, and have the whole issue blown out in the open. I want to avoid too much talk on balance because everyone knows that's a big issue and that is going to take a long time to get right. So try and tidy up the littler parts of the game while balance is sorted out. I mean, if there's something really big and it's in your face, then of course we're going to have to talk about it. But otherwise, other parts, just to try and make the game evolve into something very nice. So yes, these are my own opinions. You might not agree with them, and by all means you have every right not to agree with them. So if I say something and you think, hold on, this guy is talking bollocks, then yeah, let me know. Tell me your argument and why you think I'm wrong, and that's how, you know, debates and how things improve. If you do agree with me, then tell me why you agree with me. And yeah, I've played quite a few MMOs. I'm a 27-year-old guy. I do try to stay out of biased views. I try to put myself in everyone's shoes to try and see the overall product that we're getting. But everyone is human, nobody's perfect, and I will lean on towards certain things. For example, a lot of people in-game like PvP. I'm not a big fan of PvP. And of course that's automatically fists clashing against each other. And so while people may want more nation versus nation content, I'm not a big fan of that. And that's just one of the things that we're going to have to deal with. So why don't we start talking about PvP? Well, in my personal view, I think PvP right now is rather retarded. And you know, we don't even have to talk about the balance issues where some classes can just simply outpower a group of other classes. It's more of a fact that the balance is an issue, but what is the end result of it? You die in game and you have to spend 3 minutes to the Daidarm stats to go off you, which of course, you know, lowers your health, your Wakfu points, your damage, and you get put back to your Phoenix, your pet loses a bit of health, and that's about it. It's all an ego thing. PvP happens a lot in the mines because, hey, I'm mining this spot, you're not allowed to mine this spot, come here, bash. Yeah, that's what happens, and that causes a lot of drama. But the whole nation versus nation thing is a very iffy subject. Now, I'm personally not a big fan of cramming nation versus nation down your throat, purely because it kind of throws off newer players. We want to bring more people into the Wakfu universe, and if they come up against all these clashes, it could be rather overwhelming. You might not agree with that, but when you've got higher levels, people playing more content, and it's causing interference if a lower level goes into a different area, it does prove to be a bit difficult because you're doing something you want to do or need to grind through, and somebody comes and aggroes you, and there's not much you can do about it because they are simply stronger. Some people, of course, love doing that. They love being able to get their team of 6, go around aggroing, having good fights, and yeah, that is a big part of it. So how can we solve this? Well, I do think we need to have some sort of PvP exclusive place, like a new island, for example. You could have a giant coliseum, you could have fights between nations there competing. It could be a lot of content purely for PvP, and even the players getting involved could be rewarded for it. I don't see any reason why. Too much nation versus nation can get a bit annoying. looking at the NGG pact between the governments, the next generation governments, wanting to kind of, put simply, ban people from other nations fighting mobs in their own nations is, it's so much to talk about at the moment, but I understand why they want to try and boost the marketplaces of their own nations. Like Bonta is getting so much money, Suffolk not so much. And I think one main problem is having marketplaces in every single different nation. It's just, yeah, people want to go to Bonta and sell their stuff because they know it will sell. It's got the biggest population. You sell stuff in Suffolk and it's not going to really sell as well because there isn't enough people. I think something like having a universal market could be quite interesting. You might say, a universal market, well, how are the government going to get their taxes? It could be taxed purely from the people who are selling the item, what nation they're from. I'm from Amacna, so if I go and put my stuff on the market, the taxes from that will go straight to the Amacna government. Putting all the markets in one area makes it a lot easier for everybody else. So, do you agree with that? Do you agree that we should have a universal market and it saves people having to zap around every single nation? It's something definitely to consider. The problem is tax rates, but if you just associate it with every single person's own nation, then that could be something big to influence. One big problem with nation versus nation as well is that a lot of players pick their nation and you're stuck with it. Now, I do know the company is all about, they do the tutorial saying your nation is very important, take it seriously. The big problem with this is you start the game, you look at what nation sounds nice, you go there, you can't really do too much in the nation until you've got your passport and you've actually joined that nation. You go there, you learn about it, you learn who the big players are, and you could absolutely hate it. So we do need to get some content in very quickly where we can rebalance the nations and people can change nations. How that's going to happen, who knows. You might have to get rid of all your CP, become an outlaw and transfer nations. We'll just have to see exactly how that would work, but I think it's something that's definitely going to have to be thought about rather soon. My biggest problem with the NGG Pact is it's basically cutting people's games 25%. You're not going to be able to gain, you're going to lose CP by going to other nations, yeah, the neutrality thing, and say I want to fight some crab mobs or whatever, I can't because I'm not from that nation. I'm not after the resources, I'm after doing a quest, I want to go to their dungeons. Locking people out, it's not a very smart thing. We need to have some new content to make nations be able to stand on their own, not block people out. I can understand what they're doing, but I think, yeah, if people get blocked out of content, it's going to disenfranchise them from the game. They're not going to be happy players, and we need to have happy players. Oh, so much to actually talk about. Give me opinions on that. What do you think? I suppose the biggest flaw with the whole nation versus nation thing is that it drags everybody into it. Yes, you can have the areas which only your nation can access, but they are very limited. And if you're at war with another nation, as you can tell on the weekends, that's a big thing, then there's not much you can really do about it. You can get aggroed and you can't really complain too much because, it's war, that's what everyone does. And that's the biggest problem with nation versus nation. Back in Dalfris, you could, Bonta versus Brack, you could turn your wings on and off to say if you was PvP ready or not. And that kind of was a nice feature because if you didn't want to PvP, you didn't have to, you just stayed out of PvP mode. This, in Wakfu, doesn't really have that option. So that is the major problem. You have your PvE players who just care about, getting stronger in the game and maybe PvP later or never PvP. And your people who just want to, stomp on everybody and have good matches. So, yes, something definitely has to be done with this whole PvP system. Still talking about retarded PvP, I suppose a lot of you might have heard about the world boss glitch that happened. Well, it's not so much a glitch, it's a bad mechanic. If you don't know what a world boss is, it's two good examples. In the lands of Kelber, you've got the Black Crow, and in the Sadida Kingdom you have the Millimy Wolf, and these are rare bosses. They're going to be changed for the 2nd of May, but there's going to be a timer window, but you still know there's going to be people camping these world bosses waiting for the spawns. And what happens is a lot of people get ready to fight these bosses after the maintenance because everything resets. And what happened is one Scram managed to aggro the Black Crow, and he basically kept hiding and hid for the entire match while his team of other 5 players came and PvP'd, killed everybody, so then they could fight the Black Crow nice and neatly. And that's just an example of why world bosses suck. There's so much drama over them. You just need to be able to, I mean, what's the harm in putting an extra secret dungeon in the dungeons to fight the Black Crow or the Mealy Wolf? There's no harm in that. Just make being able to access those dungeons a very difficult requirement. It's really not a big issue, but it is a big issue. You know what I'm saying? Oh dear. Alright, we've talked about world bosses in the last episode, so let's move on rather quickly. Oh yes, guess what? I've come privy to a bit of hidden information. You might know how some of the changes the 2nd of May are a bit unexpected. Well, you know, they're getting rid of wisdom, which is a good thing. They're also getting rid of prospecting on your character, which has caused a bit of concern for new players. But they're also nerfing and changing things like the Macabre rings. Well, that's not all. You know, the Macabre weapons, the ones that you get to level 100 and you get a bonus AP, that's what makes them so attractive. They're removing that bonus AP. Stop panicking. Yes, I'm lying. I'm telling blatant lies. That is a lie, but that can happen. Yes. And Kama reserve the right to actually do that if they wanted to. Does it mean they have the right to do it? Yes, they have the right. Does it mean it should be done? No, it shouldn't. It's really bad practice. People have bought these Maca items on the presumption that this is how it's going to be. And it's not so much of buying an item and it's changed in game. You also have to put your time and your effort into these items. You might be wearing a certain thing with the expectation that, okay, I've been wearing this ring for the past 50 levels because I want to have this end result. And to have it suddenly change on you and changing for your build, it is very, very bad practice. I don't know if it's going to happen, probably not, but what should happen in my own opinion is that any items bought in this way should be automatically refunded, and you're given a user locked service where you can transfer all that experience that was gone into that item into a different Maca item, because that is the decent thing to do. People have put their time and energy into this, and you can't just change something like that and expect people not to get pissed off. It has pissed off a lot. People are saying yes, it's into the terms of service, but anything could happen. It happens with your classes, your nerfs, but when you're actually buying things for real money, it gets a bit more complicated. It really does. We've had we're having another reset on the 2nd of May, as you might not know. You probably do know. Everyone's been expecting it, and that's because things are changing so much. And this is the sort of thing that should happen with the Maca items as well. They should reset what happened, what you paid for them, give you back your Ogreens, and give you the option of putting the experience into a different Maca item because you spent so much effort onto it. You've got people who've been leveling a certain Maca item and it's now pretty much useless to their build because they've changed it, or it's just become worthless. Yes, what do you think about that? I think it is a big problem. I want to try and stay away from talking too much about the May 2nd changes, purely because we are expecting more information on it, and we might as well cover them when we can actually experience the positive and negative aspects of every change and update. I do want to try some other projects, namely a PvP commentary project. Yes, I want to try covering some PvP matches. They can be serious, they can be not so serious, and see how well it goes down, have it as pure entertainment. Some things I've got in mind: we could have a team of 6 Ossers versus 6 Sadidas, having some summon madness. We could have 12 Innie Royal Rumble, where 12 Innies go in, only one comes out. God, that could take forever. And yeah, all manner of different things we could do. So it doesn't matter if you're level 100 or level 20, we can balance things out, just make it fun and try and have some good Wakfu entertainment going on. I do also have to do a shout out for a guild that is recently formed called the Guild Zenith, and I'm a member of it. I'm running it with my friend Mr. Dusty, and it's merging some smaller guilds into it, and we want to get some more merging going on because I've been in a few guilds and they're not really coping too well. They've got a lot of a clique of players, some powerful players, and a lot of inactives, and we just want to have one simple guild where they've got a lot of players in. It doesn't matter if you're low level or high level, the important thing is that you're active, and we can have everybody helping everyone. It doesn't matter what nation you're in, it can be a bit anti-politics, no aggroing each other, just helping out and having a giant clique of players where if you want to do a dungeon run, you do a shout out and everyone else says, oh yes, that sounds fun, we'll do that, we'll help this. Just having a ton of people. Of course this could run into some problems with the changes, what the guild limits are going to be, leveling up guilds, etc., but it's a project we're going to try out regardless. So if you're interested in hooking up with us with that, then let me know either in game, let Mr. Dusty know in game, his name's just Dusty, or yeah, hit me up here and we can see what we can actually organise. But of course, May's second coming, who knows if that's going to bite us in the arse. I think I've yabbered enough, so I'm going to be leaving it there. Of course, give me your opinions, tell me what you think, and it can be opinions about the game or opinions about this show. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be catching you most likely next week for the next show.